Here we go again. Jay, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. How about yourself, James?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much. Looking forward to this one. We've got Ben with us, Ben Simpson, who is a rising star in the refereeing world, and that's going to be really interesting to get your thoughts on our philosophy. Certainly. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. Thanks for the invite. Good to see you both, and looking forward to the next 40 minutes or so of discussion time.
Cool.
Good stuff.
So we'll just have a bit of a warm up as we do, and we'll just chat a bit about rugby as rugby fans do. Some interesting things happening shortly. We've got the Premiership starting just in less than a week's time now.
What's the first game?
Bristol Bears v Bath.
Okay.
Women's Six Nations next. Women's World Cup in a month's time.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. But one thing I just wanted to chat about, and I'll put it on the notes, and it's probably a refereeing thing. Ben, the Nick White incident. Nigel Owens tweeted that he felt he'd retired too soon. Do you think it's a soft element of the game creeping in, or is it a one-off, or how would you have handled that situation?
I think it is starting to creep in, and I think it's something we need to be very mindful of and wary of, because we like to compare ourselves from our round ball friends, and we try and shy away from that kind of behaviour. It is starting to creep in because I think the use of the TMO and how that's developed. If a player brings something to the attention of the TMO, then they tend to look at it, and then we have to break things down and look at what the facts of the matter, and then we kind of take away that refereeing kind of emotion from the game, because we put it on the screen and we have to look at what we see, and then we get to having to make a decision that probably doesn't feel right, and that's how they operate at the top end of the game. I'm not fortunate to have that kind of assets in my game yet, but I do think it's one we need to be careful of, because I don't think it doesn't suit rugby. It didn't look right when I watched it back, and I kind of have to agree with Nigel's comments a little bit.
So in that situation, so you've seen that and you've seen it happen, and you're refereeing that game. What do you do?
I think I'd try and play it out like during live, and kind of go, well, I'd probably be having a word with Nick on the down. I don't think that's really needed in the game. So I'll be trying to kind of eyeball him and kind of go, let's not go down that route. Let's play some true rugby and showcase our skills, not go looking for stuff that brings the game into something we don't want to see. I don't think you wouldn't be getting anything from me on the field if he was behaving like that anyway.
See, on like a Saturday here, or I guess what you're saying, Ben, is spot on. You don't see that here on a Saturday, but that's because there is no TMO on a Saturday. If you did that to some of the referees we get around here, they'd laugh at you. I don't think they'd do anything. They'd just be like, yeah, nice.
Yeah, I think that's the professionalism coming into the game, and like I said earlier, if they make it aware, and at the top end everything's a theatre, so once someone's aware of it, the ref has to deal with it. And equally, I think the players are cottoning on to that now, and that they're kind of using that as a tactic to get things referred. And I think that's where we as refs, as a group of refs, have to go, no, we will trust our systems when we use the TMO, and we'll get the right outcomes, but let's not have players dictating when we refer and what we look after, because at the end of the day, the referee is there to do a job. If we strip it down and robotic look at everything on the screen, then we won't have that game that we love and that dynamic game of rugby, because everything will be broken down, and before we know it, we've got 5, 6, 7, 8 TMO referrals in the game, which at the top end is a spectacle, you'll lose fans, you'll lose the money, the interest, because people are just going to be looking and listening to TMO decisions that don't make sense to the wider audience.
100%. And the big thing that I'm worried about is that, say, little Johnny is on a Saturday watching that live on TV and sees Nick White behaving in that way. Sunday, he then goes and does that at his local rugby club. What sort of message is that sending out? And then, kids copy and do stuff as well. It's just, I think it's quite a dangerous territory to be in. And like you were saying earlier, Ben, we pride ourselves on being a completely separate sport from anybody. And the direct comparison is always made to football. And I don't agree with it all the time. Some people are very much like, I think there's a bit of a, some toxic mindsets going around with stuff like, this isn't like, we're not like football and stuff like that, which is needed to an extent. But then when you see something like that, and, I think back to the first time I saw it in the professional game was Jack Clifford, who was playing for Harlequins, and he threw himself on the floor after like 10 seconds of somebody pushing him. And I was just like, oh God, where are we going here? And then a few years later, we're here now. It's now happened internationally. And I think we could be in a very sticky situation if it's not. World Rugby or the RFU or whoever need to come out and do something about it fast, because it could spread quickly.
Yeah, I think everyone's guilty. Whether you're a referee, coach, player, you look at players, coaches, referees at the top end, and you do try and replicate some of their behaviours and mannerisms, because you think that's the thing that we need to be doing. They seem to be doing the right thing, so we'll naturally replicate that. And I think if we're sending a message to the grassroots, to the community game, and even to the professional players that that's acceptable, then I think we're gonna stumble into some more issues in the future.
Agreed.
I think because we're on a tight schedule, I think we'll push on to the first round, and actually it's quite a good lead in, Ben. 22-year-old referee, you're really making headway in your career, but why refereeing?
It was interesting. Obviously, I met Jay through my Dorchester Rugby Club experience as a junior. I came all the way from under 13s, 14s, right up until under 18s, where the transition, the split from the junior game to the men's game. And the season before that, I was, let's be clear, I was never a contact loving player. I was a very skillful player. I could kick, I could catch, I could do all the technical aspects, but I lacked that little bit of aggression when I needed to, especially when you're making the transition from the junior game to the men's game. During that year, I spent a lot of time running touch at the games, and I took interest in the referee, and then I was put on a course, and then basically from there on in, instead of playing rugby on a Saturday or a Sunday, I refereed. And then it just became kind of a way of life, so much to the extent now that rugby takes up a lot of my life. If you look at my general week, I go to work, but when I come back from work, I'm either thinking about rugby or reviewing rugby or prepping for my games in the future. So in terms of the transition, it has become my life, and it's only become my life because I enjoy it. In the community game, that if you don't enjoy refereeing, you can't do it. The money implications aren't all there, so you have to enjoy what you're doing. And because it's absorbed all my life, it's a weekly thing, and it almost given me something to do. And Monday all the way to Sunday, I've got things to be doing and things to be looking forward to, prepping, talking with my team, etc., which is kind of the transition that happened that kept me in the game, which is really good. And I think we need to start encouraging more people into these paths, not necessarily refereeing, but coaching or all these other aspects. We looked into it when the juniors to men's transition is where we lose most of our players.
Yeah.
And actually branching out into these different avenues, I didn't know, wasn't considering refereeing. I went on a course, and that transition was such an easy switch, and something that I've then taken on board and adapted and really excelled in and enjoy. But part of that experience, I'll gain stuff that I can use in other forms of life as well.
Yeah.
I think if you went into coaching, you could say the same. I think I really am concerned at the moment that the amount of players we lose from that junior to men's transition, and I think refereeing or coaching is definitely something we need to start encouraging, because we can still keep people in the game, and it's enjoyable, and you get a lot out of it. Not necessarily just the experiences, the atmospheres, the environments you're put in as a referee, the added skills you get from doing the job that we do, being put in hostile environments, working with a team, etc. It's all really positive things that we need to start encouraging others in the rugby community to do.
And Ben, speaking from experience for myself, not with refereeing at all, because I genuinely couldn't think of anything worse, but in it from like a coaching sort of way, I think back to when I was 17 and I was getting into coaching. There were times where I missed training sessions as a player to go and do stuff with courses or whatever, and my teammates would go, what are you doing? What are you doing that for? Like, you're never going to be a coach. Just enjoy playing rugby. You need to be at training. We need you on a Sunday and stuff. Maybe not need you. They're just like, you should be there carrying the walk balls on a Sunday or something like that. But it was, how did you combat those sort of conversations that you'd have with, your teammates and other people as well? Were you encouraged by all, or were there some that were like, Ben, what are you doing? Like, we need a 10 at the weekend, mate. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think it comes back to that transition. I think there's a mass divide of very few slip through to the men's game, and we all just dissipated away, and I dissipated into the refereeing, which kind of takes a separate. At the end of the day, no one really talks about the referee, and they shouldn't talk about the referee. But I slipped away and followed that path, and I think others slipped away and fell out of the love of the game, and some people went on to the men's game, and I really haven't got an answer to that question. But I didn't really face any challenges as such, any challenging me of why I did it. It was a case of I just went and did it.
Good. So then what was next? So you done your foot. Is that a level 1, or is that what course did you do? Was it like a level 2 intro into refereeing, or?
So I did my level 1 in that transition whilst I was still playing, and then after I'd stopped playing in that transition period, I did my level 2, and then basically pushed it down, joined the society, and then went from there up until the current period.
So talk us through the society, because for some people, that are looking at getting into refereeing and wherever they might be in the country or the world, what does that mean? How do you get into refereeing?
So England Rugby run 2 courses, and I think they still do the 2 courses. There might be 1, but I'm not entirely sure. And then you're encouraged to join your local society, and all the societies in the UK are really welcoming of any age, any referee, because quite frankly, that we have a shortage of referees at the moment. So they're willing to take you on, and they're willing to let you develop. So I joined as a member of Dorset and Wilts Society, and then I got appointed to local games, starting from, I think, the junior stuff, then working to 3rd team level, 2nd team, 1st team, and so on as you climb that pathway. And they do really support you. They give you that support. They come out and watch you, even if they're just coming out there to be that person who's there, and you're not on your own. Because quite frankly, most of the time, until you reach a certain level, you are on your own, and it's a challenge that you've got to deal with. But starting out, it can be quite daunting, even at a junior game, to be turning up and say, I'm the referee, can I come and do a briefing? Can I come and do studs? You're in charge of that whole, from the minute you get there to the minute you finish, you're in charge. And as a new ref, it can be quite difficult, but all the societies, Dorset and Wilts, really do support you in that. So from then, I then went to uni in Gloucester, So I transferred from Dorset and Wilts to the Gloucester Society, and equally had just as much help and support with those guys whilst I was at university.
So what's your highlight? Because I know you've been up to HQ. What's the highlight of your career so far?
I mean, everyone's dream as a player or is to perform or to play on HQ. So that is probably up there as one of the top highlights. And it's a surreal experience, regardless if there's 4 or 5 people in the crowd or 80,000. I dread to think of the noise and the atmosphere when there is 80,000 people in there. When I ran out for the school's finals, there was a load of parents and it was a surreal experience just to look round and go, wow. You're refereeing at the home rugby is pretty special. So it's definitely up there with one of the highlights of my refereeing career so far.
And are you going back there soon?
I hope so. I hope I'll get another appointment. Keep working hard, and I'm sure the appointments will keep flowing. So looking forward.
So Ben, so you're in the Dorset and Wilts Society. You've then moved to Gloucester. How old were you when you refereed your first senior game?
I think I was 18 and a half years old when I first refereed my first men's game. And
what level was that?
I think from memory, I think it was Town Seconds, which was my first game. It was a while ago since I've been to Town, and I don't know. I think we've all been to Town. It was proper old traditional Dorset club. Might as well have been on a farm.
But it is a farm, pretty much.
It is a farm. Town Seconds was my first game, and to think now where I am, and we're only 4 years down the line, to think that 4 years ago I was refereeing at Town is quite scary. But actually, it is very scary to look back and go, God, I was refereeing on a farm, and now I'm refereeing on last year at Twickenham. It is quite surreal.
Did you get the respect at Town when you ran out there at 18 and a half years old?
Well, I'm sure people had a few opinions as they're entitled to, but I think back then there was more respect. I think, I don't know, the nature of our game, it's starting to slip up. And I know we as a team of officials are starting to rubber stamp that and to crack down on it again, because it's creeping in, and we need to dissipate that from the game.
So Dorset and Wilts have just invested in cameras for their referees at the men's level. What's your take on that?
Cameras at any age. So as a referee, as soon as you've heard your voice and listened to what you've said, it's the most awkward experience of your life. When you listen back to what you've been saying, doing, running, talking, you learn that you shouldn't have said some things, and you just cringe in your body, like how is that me? But equally, it's one of the best tools for us referees to develop, because we can look back and go what we did there and why we did it, and other people can question us, and then that also adds value and adds little bits in our head that we take forward to the next game. If people have the finance to get a video with a ref mic, it is a very valuable experience. I'm fully supportive of a video. It's really good.
Do you know what's amazing there, Ben? And says a lot about you as a person. The reason why Dorset and Wilts have brought those cameras in is nothing to do with referee development. It's to stop match official abuse. And you didn't mention that once. Like you speak to somebody like that that's given a tool. I think it's, for me, straight away when I was like, oh wow, the referee's getting camera, that'd be great for them, because I've only recently just started filming myself coaching, and you're right, God, it is cringe as hell, isn't it? Like, oh my God, do I sound like that? That's why I never listened to any of these back. But it is such a shame that we feel as a county that match officials feel that they need to wear body cameras so people don't abuse them. And I find that tough. I find that really tough.
I think that is the difficulty that you just have to look at outside of rugby and policing now, and the way that society is going. Everyone is videoing people and always looking for somebody to blame. It's always somebody else's fault. And I think, like we said earlier, we don't want that to creep into rugby because of what the rugby values hold and what the games hold. So I can understand why they brought it in, and I hope the referees and the players would use it for what I've been using it for, and not just to record abuse and to kind of have an evidence-based approach to the abuse so that we can deal with it. But yeah, it is a shame that the reason for it is for abuse, because actually we should be getting rid of abuse and then not needing the video itself. But the tool itself is a really good tool for us referees, and I'm sure it is players and coaches. It just is a bit annoying to listen to yourself back and to hear.
I think that's a great spot, because we're tight for time, to stop for a half time, because I want to explore your values on the game after in the second half as well. I know our listeners will be looking forward to it. So brief halftime announcement. We've been contacted by Burley Rugby Union Football Club up in Leeds. They've asked for a mention. They are looking for players still. They're also looking for sponsors for their players. If you're in Leeds, in the Hawksworth area, get down to Burley Rugby Club. They're any age, any experience, welcome. They're looking to try and build their club. And they've had a good first game to their season already. Bonus points win for them for their first game. So well done, Burnley. And anybody else, if you're interested, please get in touch. We're happy to promote grassroots at all levels, all over the world, however it works. If you've got something you want to shout about to try and get some help or support, then let us know. We're happy to. Contact us on info@BeMoreRugby, or get in touch with us on the @BeMoreRugby social media channels. So the second half, Ben, is where we talk about the philosophy that we have of using rugby and its values to help us on and off the field. We like to kick our second half off with the question, what does rugby mean to you?
So rugby, like I said, does take up the majority of my life. So it's something that I've invested in and something that I really enjoy. So for me, it's an asset of life that I love to do. I love the game of rugby. I look forward to reviewing, prepping, and going to my games, regardless if that's 4 hours in the car to travel to a game. It's something I'm wanting to do, looking forward to do. So for me, rugby gives me that enjoyment factor that I think most people need in life, just to separate from work, separate from issues. It is just somewhere that you go, you learn as a person, you gain some great friendships. I've got people of all ages, shapes and sizes that I would have never have met, but through rugby I've come into contact with them. And I look, if I'm in Manchester one week and they live up there, I'll say I'm in Manchester for a game. Do you fancy meeting up for a pint afterwards? And is it all right if I pop in a spare bed for the night, because I've got to travel? All these rugby family that we pride ourselves on keeping and upholding is brilliant. So the reason why, what rugby means to me at the moment, is my life, and it does consume a lot of my time and effort, but that is due to the investment that I've put into it. But yeah, enjoyment, friendships, all of that is worthwhile, and that's something I really enjoy.
That's cool. That's really cool. Really cool. And you mentioned earlier on that you enjoy refereeing and you feel that it's given you tools that you can go and use outside of rugby. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, so us referees aren't really the norm. We force ourselves into environments that can be quite challenging sometimes, and part of that, by doing that, you are developing yourself as a person for all walks of life and the challenges that we come across. For example, if you're chucked into a derby game on a Friday night, you know what you're going up against. You know what you've got to do. You know the challenges that you're going to be faced. And and all part of that is you're absorbing all that, and you've always got that in your locker to use, regardless of where you need to use it. So yeah, there's lots of stuff that you can take out of the game. I've only touched on a few. So resilience, teamwork, all of those. There's loads. I could list them all, but there's a lot of value that you can get out of the game, especially through refereeing.
It's interesting because we've had players on, we've had coaches on, we've had managers on, but we don't. When we talk about rugby all the time, we tend to talk about players and plays. But actually, I mean, I'm a big fan of Nigel Owens. I think probably everybody is. He's sort of the first referee that stood up and got noticed by everybody and made it a position where everybody's aware of as a fan rather than just as a player. So yeah, I was really excited to have you on to hear about the values that you have as a referee. So what would you be if it wasn't for rugby? I know you said you got out of rugby as a player and you transitioned into refereeing, but where would you have gone if you hadn't? What would you be?
It's very interesting because as part of my development, when I went to uni, the University of Gloucestershire ran a scholarship program, which is the only one in the UK. I think we're trying to develop some more courses or some more learning environments, but essentially that's the main reason why I went to university, to pursue the refereeing and to have opportunities through the scholarship that I've benefited from. Had I not chose that option, I probably wouldn't have been a university student. I probably would have looked to venture into the police or something like that. But having said that, having done the pathway that I've done and the refereeing, I've gained stuff that I can use if refereeing doesn't work out. All these valuable skills that we do and have as referees can be transferred into an environment like the police, for example. So yeah, what would I have done if it wasn't for rugby? Who knows? But I think I would have probably been a police officer now. So I don't know which one's better.
Ben, I've been refereed by you before, and didn't I score like 4 tries? It was like Kingston Ward versus Weymouth College. I scored like 4 tries or something. Didn't you have to get in like a new whistle, like it had run out or something?
I'd love to agree with you, but I really can't remember that.
It's true.
It's such a long time ago. I can't remember it.
Harsh. It was only last season, Ben. I know you enjoy a bit of chat and stuff like that. While being on the pitch and stuff like that, you've been down with Polo Town 2s and up with, Nat 2, Nat 1 sort of stuff. What's the sort of best chat you've had on the rugby pitch so far towards yourself?
Best chat. I think it was kind of mostly from a spectator. It's what's the point in you being here? You had no value, and I just think you almost want to comment back and go, "There's a reason why you're on the sideline," but you can't. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of chat and there's a lot of rubbish chat out there, but I think you learn to kind of absorb it and laugh about it later. But yeah, there is some awful chat out there. Trust me.
What would you, if you had to say a few things that you'd want young players to get out from rugby, what would they be? And actually, let's rephrase that question. Not young players, young people involved in rugby.
So, like I said, I think there's various different avenues in rugby that you can excel in and expose yourself in. And if we take refereeing, if a young person takes up the whistle, they gain a different tier of friendship, and they expose themselves to different people at a young age, which is valuable. The friendships, the willingness to train, the willingness to do better for yourself. I think when you put yourself in a team environment, you don't lose that, but there's less of it because you're a collective team. Whereas as a referee, the only person who's going to make yourself better is yourself. Regardless of what other people say, do, or influence, the only person who's in control of yourself is you. I think you can relate that to anything, not just rugby. As a young person, you're in control of your own destiny. You put into life what you want to get out of it. I think that's something that I've been told in refereeing and the development kind of process is you decide where you want to be, and if you put enough effort, you put enough time, you invest in it, you enjoy it, and eventually you will get to where you want to be. So that would be the main message for me is do something because you enjoy it, do something because you love it, but also look to better yourself in every minute of the day, because that will automatically make you a better person, referee, player, coach, spectator, for example.
So Ben, what's next for you? What's the next progression? Because I set myself, not just in coaching but in other stuff as well, short-term goals and long-term goals. What's next for you?
So at the start of this season, I have now officially, my status is now I'm an associate of the national panel. So that basically means that I will get given games at that level, and with the aim to hopefully make it as a full-time member of the panel come Christmas or the end of the season. So for me that's my main goal, as in short-term goal for this season, is to try and make it onto that official status as a panel member, as the referee, not just an associate.
Good work, Ben. And long-term?
Long-term, keep doing what we're doing, keep plugging away, keep keeping availability, keep training hard, keep learning off people, games, experiences, environments, and hopefully get to the end goal of the top end of the game, and even the top goal would be to a World Cup or something like that. But you've got to aim high, and you've got to chase things down. If you don't aim high, there's no point in doing it. So looking forward to it. I'm at 4 or 5 years on my refereeing journey, and it's not going to be stopping anytime soon. So I'll keep working hard and see where it gets me.
And have you done any international stuff? Have you been anywhere near anything like that, or in that environment at all?
I've done an international men's game on the line, and I did a women's game. I did a women's 18s. I've done a couple of 18s internationals as well. So I've been in some international environments, which is good. Some national anthems and stuff like that. So these are the things you look forward to, and when you get these appointments, and HQ, for example, it's an appointment that you can tick off your refereeing goals and say, I've refereed at Twickenham, I've done a 18th international, etc. And these, as a referee, you always want to be refereeing at the next level. So you're always going to have, your goals are always going to be changing. As long as you keep them realistic, and you keep training hard, working hard, and knowing the expectations of that next level, then all will be good. And you just got to see what the rugby career happens next. See what happens next, and keep working on.
Good work, Ben. That's awesome, mate.
So what have you learnt most from rugby then? That's you're pretty inspirational in your motivation and determination to achieve your goals. But through your rugby career, and granted, as far as I'm concerned, you're both just whippersnappers starting out. But what through your career so far has been the biggest lesson?
A quote that I was always given, and it sticks with me, and it's one that I'll always say to any other referee, is treat every game like it's a cup final, like it's a World Cup final. You never know who's watching. So yeah, you can be doing a favour for the society because they're short, and you go in there all just going through the motions, but that could be the game that someone's watching. Or yeah, the biggest thing for me, and the one quote that I'll take and give to any referee is, you never know who's watching, and treat every game like it's the World Cup final.
That's cool.
Love that.
And I suppose when you do get to your World Cup final, you'll be well prepared with that statement as well.
There we go. I'll have it written down ready.
So from your refereeing career and the goals that you've got, you lay out your path. For any aspiring youngsters coming up through, where would you guide them in the first instance? Would you say follow the same path as you, or would you say there's a better route for them to take?
I think the pathway and there is a limited route, and I think the source comes with, you've got to join your local society, and then that is where you'll get branched off, and that's where you'll grow and you'll find your way there. Your society is your first point of call, and they'll nurture you, and they'll guide you to the next steps when you're ready for them. So yeah, if you were like me and you didn't want to really engage in the contact, and you actually enjoyed running the line, or you enjoyed looking and wanting to understand why the referees made that decision, then join your society, and just do as many games as you can possibly do. I think that the biggest advice that I had was, you learn through your games, so do as many games. Doesn't matter what game it is, you'll learn something new in every game. So yeah, go and gain the experience. Go and speak to people that have been there. Speak to at higher levels, same level, lower level. People who coach, people who play. Learn off everyone. Absorb what you want, and guide your own path through that. But yeah, the first off thing is join your local society, and they will help you through the stages you want to get to.
That's great.
Love that. Love that.
Ben, just from myself, really, just has been absolutely amazing speaking to you. Obviously I've known you for quite a long time now, and I think back to people like Sam Cloud and stuff like that. He introduced you to me when I just started off coaching and stuff like that, and you were just starting off refereeing and that, and it's been great, mate. And also been following the stuff you've been doing on social media, and just really pleased for you that you're going well. Just a bit gutted you're not refereeing in Dorset and Wilts, mate, because we need you down here, man. We need you.
I might come down soon when I'm back at the parents. If I've got a spare weekend, which is very unlikely, but I'll never turn down a Wimbledon game. You know that.
Cracking stuff.
So one question from me while Jay sat next to me as a coach, and you two know each other. Who's easiest to deal with, players or coaches?
Coaches after the game, players during the game.
Really?
Okay.
Players are easier to deal with during the game, and coaches are more difficult during the game because they want to know the information from the sideline. Whereas if you speak to them afterwards in controlled environment, it's the other way around. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, to answer your question, probably players.
Cool. Thank you. Well, I think we're going to have to wrap it up then. It's been a short one, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Great things that I've got to take away with, especially where you've talked about the fact that the tools that you have gained through refereeing, you take outside of the game, you use in your day-to-day life, and we try and champion that to be more rugby in our social, professional and rugby lives. But I also love the fact that, like you said, refereeing's not a money incentivized. It's a love of the game incentivized, which I think a lot of people have got to stop and remember, because lots of people go into professional sports for the money.
Yeah.
When they've got a degree of talent, but the referees, especially, and I say especially in rugby, probably mainly in rugby, they keep the game going, they keep the game honest, they keep the players safe, and they keep the players honest at the same time, as well as the coaches. And they're doing it for the love of the game. They're not doing it for the big bucks or the fame or anything like that. So, so that's really interesting. That struck a chord with me.
Big time. And I've spoken before on here about stuff to do with referees and that, but at the end of the day, no referee, no game. And I've been in those situations on a Saturday when a referee, there's been a mistake or whatever, and that game then doesn't get played. You go home, or some of the lads on the Sunday, there's been like a mix up, or a referee's been stuck or whatever. No game. It doesn't happen. When you're past a certain age and stuff like that, it can't be a coach that comes and does it, because it's just not fair, and they're not qualified to do it. They don't have that experience to do it. And when you need a referee and you don't have one, I think it really highlights actually how important they are, and they are definitely a forgotten element of the game, big time, taken for granted.
So, sorry, go on, Ben.
We're all in this together. If we want a game, we have to have all three counterparts. We have to have players, coaches, and players. If we have less of a pot in the referees field, then some of the players and coaches will miss out as a result. So, and I back to what I said, I think everyone has to treat every game as a learning game, and referees never are perfect, players are never perfect, and coaches are never perfect. And if we all know that, we can build together. I think we have to build together. So I have to tap into some coaching and come to some training sessions, which I have, and experience what you guys are teaching your scrum and your 10, etc. And equally, you guys can then say, well, why are you doing this on a Saturday? And if we're not doing that, well, come a Saturday, it will be like that's unknown, because it's just out of the blue. But rugby is a family, and it doesn't matter what role you're taking. I think we have to come together, especially in the current period where we're losing players. We're certainly losing referees, and that ties into a little bit of the abuse. Referees aren't going to turn out for nothing if they don't enjoy it, and if you're getting abused, you're not enjoying it. So that is a thing we've got to address, but it's an easy fix, I think. And coming together as a trio will really help that. No ref, no game is out there, but I think we have to work together.
100%.
So all you girls and boys out there that are loving rugby but not enjoying the contact of it, seriously consider getting stuck into the refereeing side of things, because that's only going to help continue the game and make it better for everybody. So there's a pathway that perhaps youngsters don't think about, especially. And I suppose at any age, if you're at the point where you're looking at retiring, why not go down the route of, it's never too late going down the route of refereeing. It will only help the game get better and better.
100%. There's always a place for you in rugby, and there's always a place that you can fit into in the refereeing side of it as well. So yeah, can't encourage that more.
Love that.
Ben, amazing talking to you as always, mate, and wish you all the very best of luck. And I'm looking forward to seeing you as the man in the middle in the World Cup final in France next year.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I might be there in the crowd, but I don't know about in the middle.
Well, we'll keep an eye out anyway. Ben, thank you
Perfect.
very much. Really, really enjoyed that. And hopefully you'd perhaps come on and tell us how you get on at the World Cup when you're there. I'll
definitely do something like this again. It's really valuable for me to do these kind of things as well, not just for you guys. It's if I can talk about it, then that enhances my knowledge as a referee. So yeah, it's really good, and that we need to encourage more people to do it, because, like we said, this is another avenue of the rugby family that we haven't even mentioned. So it's endless, isn't it?
Genuinely, I was over the moon to hear that element of it, because referees can so often be stuck out. And when they come here, we've got a little dressing room down here, you probably know. They go in there, they come out, nobody really talks to them apart from the two head coaches and whatever. And actually, like you say, there should be more of an integration, because they are
sure
100% part of the family.
I think there's still that stigma of, as the referee turns up, comes to ruin a game, but it's
Yeah.
definitely not. We're putting just as much work and effort in as the players, because it's another avenue that the rugby that creates. So I think I don't take for granted the work that the coaches are putting in or the players, but is that reciprocated in the refereeing? That might be where we need to talk, and these kind of things help, because people don't know what a referee's week is pre-post game. So it's all about coming together and talking. So these things really help, and I'll definitely come on again and talk about something completely different if you want.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. There's so many different things we could chat about in there.
It has been brilliant. Jay, it's been a delight as always.
Stuff, James.
Can't wait to get this one out actually, for people to listen to. And we're hoping now we've had the players, we've had the managers, we've had the coaches, we've now had the referees. Hopefully next week we've got a rugby psychologist coming on, which is going to be another angle, which will be a real interesting one. So everybody and anybody, if you like what we're doing, please let us know. Subscribe to us, like us, do all the things you need to do. And until next week or next time, be more rugby. Thank you, Ben.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay.
Ben, lovely to see you as always, mate. And I'll give you a message soon.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ben. Lovely to meet you. Cheers.
Cheers. All the best.